The diaper bag slips from my shoulder as I fumble with my house key, trying to balance my sleeping newborn against my chest. The metal scrapes against the lock but won't turn. I try again, harder this time, but nothing. That's when I notice the lock itself is different, newer, shinier than the brass one we've had since moving in. My stomach drops. The baby stirs, sensing my tension. A white envelope is taped to the door, my name scrawled across it in Mark's hasty handwriting. With trembling fingers, I tear it open, still refusing to acknowledge what this means. It's over. Don't come back. 4 words. That's all he gave me after 8 years together. 4 words to end a marriage, to abandon his 3-week-old daughter. Your daddy's a coward, I whisper to Emma, who stretches in her sleep, tiny fingers curling against my collarbone. The rage building inside me threatens to burst out in a scream, but I swallow it back. I won't let her first memories be of her mother breaking down on my former doorstep. I'm Isabel, and this is the moment my husband decided to throw away everything we built together. My phone feels heavy in my pocket. I know I should call someone, ask for help, but admitting this is real means accepting that Mark actually did this. That while I was in the hospital giving birth to our daughter, he was planning his escape. A car door slams somewhere down the street. The sound jolts me into action. I can't stand here forever, locked out of my own home with a newborn who'll need feeding soon. I dial my mother's number, pressing the phone between my ear and shoulder while adjusting Emma's blanket. Isabel? How was the checkup? Mom. My voice cracks. Can you come get us? Mark. He changed the locks. The silence on the other end speaks volumes. Then, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Don't move. I sink down onto the porch steps, cradling Emma closer. The neighbor's cat watches us from across the street, its yellow eyes unblinking. I stare back, focusing on its steady gaze instead of the chaos in my mind. He thinks he can just walk away, I murmur, stroking Emma's cheek. But he has no idea what I'm capable of. The words surprise me with their coldness, their certainty. We're going to show him, aren't we, baby girl? Mommy's going to make sure he regrets ever leaving us. Emma's only response is a soft sigh, but it's enough. I kiss her forehead, already plotting my next move. Mark may have locked me out of our house, but he's about to learn that some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed again. My mother's guest room feels like a cage, even with its flowery wallpaper and soft lighting. Emma sleeps in the borrowed bassinet while I scroll through old photos on my phone, trying to pinpoint the exact moment Mark started slipping away. There's one from last Christmas, his arm around my shoulders, his smile not quite reaching his eyes as I showed off my growing belly. I remember Linda hovering nearby, wringing her hands, asking if Mark was ready for all this. I should have seen it then. The doorbell rings, and my stomach clenches. Through the window, I spot Linda's silver Mercedes in the driveway. I'll get it, my mother calls up the stairs, but I'm already moving. I need to face this. Linda stands in our entryway, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. Isabel, dear, she starts, then falters. The perfect Carter family facade cracking at the edges. Come to check on your grandchild? I keep my voice steady, cold. Or to defend your son? I brought some things from the house. She holds up a canvas bag. Clothes, your prenatal vitamins, Emma's favorite blanket. You helped him pack up our things? The betrayal tastes bitter in my mouth. No. I found them packed in boxes by the door. Linda's eyes dart away. Mark asked me to deliver them. How convenient. I take the bag, my fingers digging into the fabric. Did he tell you why he locked us out? Or was that part of your master plan too? Isabel, please. Linda reaches for my arm, but I step back. Mark's scared. He's always been sensitive about responsibility. If you just give him time. Time? I laugh, and it sounds wrong even to my own ears. He had 9 months to prepare. He had 3 weeks with his daughter. What he's done isn't fear, Linda. It's cruelty. Emma's cry pierces the tension. Linda's face crumples. Please, let me help. Let me see her. No. The word comes out sharp as a blade. You lost that privilege when you helped him abandon us. Tell Mark if he wants to see his daughter, he can face me himself instead of hiding behind his mother's skirts. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. I turn toward the stairs. And so will everyone else once they learn what kind of man Mark really is. Linda's intake of breath is satisfying. What are you planning? Give Mark a message from me, I say, pausing on the first step. Tell him I'm done being the perfect, understanding wife. He wanted his freedom? Fine. But freedom comes with a price. Emma's cries grow louder, calling me back to her. I leave Linda standing in the entryway, her perfectly manicured hands trembling at her sides. Let her worry. Let her wonder what's coming next. Because this is just the beginning. The text message comes at 3 in the morning, just after Emma's feeding. An unknown number, but I know it's him. Mark always did his dirty work in the dark. I'm sorry. I'll explain everything tomorrow. Meet me at Riverside Park at noon? I stare at the screen until Emma stirs against my chest. Sorry doesn't begin to cover it. But I'll meet him, not because he deserves it, but because I need answers. My father finds me in the kitchen at dawn, methodically sorting through Mark's financial records on my laptop. You should be sleeping when the baby sleeps, he says, pouring coffee. Did you know, I say, turning the screen toward him, that Mark opened a new credit card 3 months ago? The statements go to an address I've never seen. Dad sets down his mug, lawyer mode engaging. Isabel. Apartment 3B, 1247 Oak Street. My voice doesn't shake. Monthly payments started the week after my baby shower. Let me handle this legally. We can. He's meeting me today. I close the laptop. And I'm going to make him confess everything. Don't do anything rash. Dad's voice carries that familiar warning tone. Whatever you're planning. I'm planning to get what's mine. The park is quiet at noon, most people at work or hiding from the summer heat. I spot Mark on our usual bench, head bowed like a penitent man. The sight of him makes my skin crawl. Isabel. He stands, reaches for Emma's stroller. I pull it back sharply. Don't touch her. Please, I know I messed up, but... How long have you been sleeping with Caitlin Monroe? The color drains from his face. How did you? Your new apartment's rent payments. I pull out my phone, reading from my notes. Your secret credit card. The jewelry store charges. Did you buy her something pretty while I was in labor? It's not what you think. Then explain it to me, Mark. My voice carries across the empty park. Explain why you're paying rent on an apartment while your wife and newborn daughter are homeless. Keep your voice down, he hisses, glancing around. Always so concerned about appearances. Why? Worried someone might hear what kind of man you really are? I'll explain everything, just not here. He runs his hands through his hair, a nervous tell I used to find endearing. Come to the apartment. We can talk privately. The love nest you share with Caitlin? No thanks. I lean closer, lowering my voice. But don't worry, you'll have plenty of chances to explain to your parents, our friends, your colleagues. I wonder what the partners at your firm would think about their rising star abandoning his family? You wouldn't dare. Watch me. I straighten up, gripping Emma's stroller. You taught me something important, Mark. Sometimes the people closest to us are capable of anything. His face twists with anger, fear, maybe even regret. But it's too late for any of that now. The game has changed, and I'm done playing by his rules. The email arrives while I'm feeding Emma at midnight. A message from someone named Rachel in Human Resources at Mark's firm, responding to my concerns about workplace conduct. My hands shake as I read it, remembering the anonymous tip I sent last week. Mrs. Carter, this is a delicate situation. Could we meet tomorrow to discuss the details? Emma fusses against my breast, and I adjust her position, my mind racing. I didn't expect them to respond so quickly. Didn't expect them to care about a scorned wife's accusations. My phone buzzes, Mark calling. I let it ring. 3 minutes later, what the hell did you do? I delete his message without listening further. The power feels good, like a warm drink on a cold night. The law firm's lobby is all glass and steel, everything sharp and clean. Rachel meets me at reception, her professional smile faltering when she sees Emma in her carrier. I'm sorry to bring her, I say. No childcare yet. Of course. Rachel leads us to a conference room. This is unusual. Normally, these matters are handled internally. Is that what Mark told you to say? She blinks. Mr. Carter isn't aware of this meeting. But Caitlin Monroe is, isn't she? The name drops like a stone between us. Your newest junior associate? Rachel's perfectly composed expression cracks. How did you? The same way I found out about the company apartment they've been using. The one paid for with corporate funds. I pull out my phone, scrolling through screenshots. Mark's not as clever with paperwork as he thinks. Mrs. Carter, these are serious allegations? Isabel. Henry Carter's voice cuts through the room like a blade. My father-in-law stands in the doorway, his face ashen. What are you doing? Hello, Henry. Coming to clean up Mark's mess again? Rachel, give us a moment. Henry waits until she leaves, then closes the door. You're destroying his career. He destroyed our family. There are better ways. Like what? I stand, Emma stirring at the movement. Should I quietly disappear while he builds a new life with his mistress? While he uses company money to fund their affair? The firm will handle this internally. The firm will bury it, you mean? I gather Emma's carrier. Just like they buried the harassment complaint against him last year? Like they buried the accounting irregularities? Henry's face goes pale. How did you? I had a lot of time to dig while sitting in my parents' guest room. I move toward the door. Tell Mark he has 24 hours to come clean, or I take everything I've found to the ethics board. Isabel, please. No more pleading, Henry. No more covering up. I pause at the threshold. It's time for everyone to face the consequences of their choices. The elevator doors close on Henry's stricken face, and I feel something shift inside me. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about justice. Linda shows up unannounced, catching me in my parents' driveway after Emma's pediatrician appointment. She looks different, smaller somehow, without her usual perfect makeup and designer clothes. Henry told me what you're planning, she says, following me inside. The ethics board, the firm. You'll destroy everything. Mark already destroyed everything. I settle Emma into her swing, buying time to steady my voice. Or did you think he'd get away with it like always? He's sick, Isabel. He needs help, not punishment. Sick? I laugh, the sound harsh enough to make Emma stir. Is that what we're calling it now? Linda pulls a folded paper from her purse. His therapist diagnosed him with severe anxiety and depression years ago. Before he met you. She holds it out. He stopped taking his medication when you got pregnant. The diagnosis swims before my eyes, dates, medical terms, a history I never knew existed. Why didn't you tell me? He made us promise. Said he wanted to be normal, to prove he could handle everything without help. Linda's voice cracks. I enabled him. Again. Just like I always have. This doesn't excuse what he did. No, it doesn't. She reaches for my hand, but I pull away. But maybe understanding why. Understanding why won't put a roof over my daughter's head. I crumple the paper, letting it fall. It won't undo his affair or the money he stole. Please. Linda's desperation fills the room. If you go through with this, he could face criminal charges. The firm will press charges to protect themselves. Good. You don't mean that. Don't I? I turn to her, finally letting my rage show. He left his newborn daughter homeless. He betrayed every promise he ever made. Why shouldn't he face consequences? Because you loved him once. Linda's words hit like a physical blow. Because Emma deserves to know her father, even if he's flawed. My phone buzzes, another message from Mark's firm. The ethics board wants to meet tomorrow. You have to choose, Isabel, Linda says softly. Between revenge and healing. Between punishment and understanding. I look at Emma, peaceful in her swing, unaware of how her world has shattered. The weight of every decision, every choice, feels suddenly overwhelming. Get out, I whisper. Isabel. Get out. My voice rises, making Emma whimper. You don't get to play both sides anymore, Linda. You don't get to defend him and pretend to care about us. She leaves quietly, but her words echo in my head. Revenge or healing? Punishment or understanding? As if it's that simple. As if any choice I make won't leave permanent scars. I pick up the crumpled diagnosis, smoothing it out. Tomorrow, I'll have to decide what kind of person I want to be. What kind of mother Emma deserves. But tonight, I let myself rage against all of it, the betrayal, the lies, and the awful complexity of loving someone who knows exactly how to hurt you. The ethics board meeting never happens. Instead, I find myself standing in the hallway of Mark's new apartment building, Emma asleep in her carrier. A woman's laugh filters through the door, light, carefree. Caitlin. My knuckles barely graze the wood before the door swings open. Mark freezes, wine glass in hand, looking younger somehow. Happier. Isabel? His voice cracks. What are you? Is that her? Caitlin appears behind him, tall and elegant in a way I'll never be. Her smile falters when she sees Emma. Oh. I came to return something. I pull out the medical records Linda gave me. Your mother's latest attempt to explain away what you did. Mark's face darkens. She had no right. To what? Tell me about your depression? Your anxiety? I step closer, forcing him back. Or about how you chose to stop taking your medication right when I needed you most? It's not that simple. He runs his hands through his hair, that familiar gesture making my stomach turn. The meds made everything feel distant. I wanted to feel everything with you, with the baby. How noble. I glance at Caitlin, who hasn't moved. Is that what you told her? That you're just a tortured soul trying to feel something real? That's enough. Caitlin steps forward. You don't understand what he's been through. What he's been through. The laugh that escapes me sounds foreign, dangerous. I was there for 6 years. Through every panic attack, every dark moment. I held him together while he fell apart, and then, my voice breaks. Then he left us with nothing. Emma stirs, whimpering. The sound seems to physically pain Mark. I never meant, he starts. To what? To hurt us? To steal company money? To destroy everything we built? I shift Emma's carrier to my other hand. The ethics board meets tomorrow. They know everything. You can't. His face drains of color. They'll press charges. I'll lose everything. You already lost everything. I turn to leave, then pause. The medication excuse might work on your mother, Mark. But we both know the truth. You're not sick, you're just a coward. Isabel, please. Goodbye, Mark. I walk away, his pleas echoing down the hallway. In the elevator, I catch my reflection, pale, shaking, but standing. Emma's tiny hand wraps around my finger, and suddenly I can't breathe. The weight of everything, the betrayal, the lies, the revenge, crashes down. I sink to the elevator floor, clutching my daughter, letting the sobs finally come. This is rock bottom, crying in an elevator while my husband celebrates his new life upstairs. But as Emma's warmth seeps into my chest, I realize something. Rock bottom is where you find out what you're really made of. Tomorrow, the ethics board will decide Mark's fate. But tonight, I'll hold my daughter and remember that sometimes surviving is its own kind of revenge. The ethics board meeting ends in chaos. Mark storms out, leaving scattered papers in his wake, evidence of his fraud, his affair, his complete unraveling. I remain seated, watching Henry Carter's face age years in minutes as he processes what his son has done. He'll be asked to resign, Henry says quietly. The firm won't press charges if he goes quietly. I should feel triumphant. Instead, I feel hollow. My phone buzzes, Caitlin's number. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. He's at your old house, she says, her voice tight. He's drunk, talking about fixing everything. I thought you should know. The drive feels endless. When I pull up, Mark's car sits crooked in the driveway, driver's door open. The front door, my door, the one he changed the locks on, stands ajar. Inside, the house is dark except for the nursery light. My heart stops. Mark? I painted it yellow. His voice drifts down. Remember? You said yellow was a happy color. I find him sitting in the rocking chair we picked out together, holding Emma's abandoned stuffed rabbit. The room smells of whiskey and desperation. You need to leave. I ruined everything. He looks up, eyes red. I thought I was trapped, suffocating under all the expectations. But I was wrong. This, he gestures at the empty nursery, this is suffocating. Don't. Caitlin left. He laughs bitterly. Said she couldn't handle the guilt. Funny, right? The woman I left you for couldn't handle being the other woman. Get out, Mark. Or what? He stands unsteadily. You'll destroy what's left of me? Too late. You won already, Isabel. Happy? Happy? The word ignites something in me. You think this was about winning? You abandoned your child. You left us with nothing. This wasn't a game, this was survival. I know. He steps closer. I know, and I'm sorry. Please, just let me try to fix it. There's nothing left to fix. Isabel. No. I step back. You don't get to be sorry now. You don't get to play the tragic hero. Actions have consequences, Mark. Even for men who run from them. He crumples, sliding down the wall. I love you. Both of you. Love isn't enough. I move to the doorway. I'm selling the house. Use your resignation package to find somewhere else to live. What will you tell Emma about me? I pause, hand on the doorframe. The truth. That her father chose himself over everything else. And that sometimes the bravest thing a mother can do is walk away. I leave him there, surrounded by yellow walls and broken promises. Outside, the night air feels clean, new. For the first time since this all began, I breathe deeply, freely. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone else, it's about saving yourself. The realtor's sign comes down today. Emma sleeps in her carrier while I sign the final papers, her soft breaths keeping time with the scratch of my pen. The house sold for more than I expected, enough to start fresh somewhere new. Linda waits in my parents' driveway when we return, clutching an envelope. He's in treatment, she says before I can speak. Real treatment this time. He asked me to give you this. I take the envelope but don't open it. How are you, Linda? The question catches her off guard. For a moment, I see past the carefully maintained facade to the woman who's lost everything too. I'm learning, she says finally. About boundaries. About letting go. She looks at Emma. May I? I hesitate, then nod. Linda gently touches Emma's cheek, and my daughter stirs, grabbing her grandmother's finger. You did the right thing, Linda whispers. Exposing everything. Making him face it all. I spent years protecting him from consequences, thinking it was love. She straightens up, wiping her eyes. You loved him enough to let him fall. After she leaves, I sit in the garden with Emma, the envelope heavy in my lap. The sun warms our faces as I finally open it. Mark's handwriting is steadier than before. No grand apologies or promises, just 3 things: signed divorce papers, a cashier's check for half the money he took, and a single sentence. I'll be better before I try to be her father. My mother finds us there later, Emma practicing her new skill of grabbing at sunbeams. The apartment in the city is ready whenever you are, she says, sitting beside me. Though we'll miss having you here. I need to show her how to stand on her own, I say, watching Emma's determined little face. Both of us. You already have. The breeze carries the scent of approaching autumn, of change and possibility. I tuck Mark's letter away, knowing I'll keep it for Emma to read someday. Not because she'll need it, but because sometimes understanding where you came from helps you choose where you're going. Ready for your next adventure, little one? I lift Emma up, her face breaking into that heart-melting smile. She doesn't know about revenge or justice or the complicated ways love can break and heal. She just knows her mother's arms are strong and sure. The revenge I thought I wanted seems hollow now, compared to this, the power to begin again, to write our own story. Mark's consequences were never mine to carry, they were his to bear, just as this new life is mine to build. Emma reaches for another sunbeam, fearless and free. I hold her closer, knowing that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free.